should I say, as clear and detailed, so that, and also as fast as possible, knowing that you're not feeling too well. Right. So confirm when you can see my slide presentation so we can kick off. Can I see my slide?
Yes.
All right, great. So solution requirements, I can see functional requirements modeling. How we basically model this requirement and what we need to model. So we're looking at what is requirements modeling, use case models, data flow models, and process flow. In each of these models, we're looking at how to draw them, what are the rule of thumb, right? What are the basic rule when drawing these things? Because if you want to draw the use case diagram of an e-commerce solution, and you want to draw the use case diagram of a financial solution, a fintech solution, right? You have to ensure you obey the same basic rule. Yes, they may have different way of drawing, different capabilities, but in terms of use case diagrams, there are basic rules you have to adopt, no matter the tool you are using to draw or the solution you are modeling. So requirements model is, as we most know, requirement model is very important to business analysis or to solution development, because it helps us to create a visual representation of the system capabilities of system processes. Some of the reason why we have to ensure we draw requirements model is to help us organize our data in multiple ways, is to help us see things that might be missing, is to help create a visual representation of what is expected, and also to provide more analysis on the various components of the requirements of the system. Before we can say we'll be able to effectively or correctly model a requirement, we need to ensure that we have accurately specified the requirements, because if you've not been able to specify the requirements, modeling the requirement then becomes a problem. Yeah, on top of the head, we could just say, okay, let's start modeling, and then from modeling, we go into specification before we now come back to modeling, right? But the best will be for you to, first of all, specify, and then go ahead to model your requirements. I know you've worked a lot of years in the financial industry. You know what they call financial modeling, right? In financial modeling, it helps in financial analysis, right? And that is because modeling will help you to analyze or provide more room for analysis of your work. So most times, requirements modeling starts with the use case, where it basically helps you to understand the user interaction. So it starts most times with the use case diagram, and then it leads us to data modeling, trying to know the various data in form of information, right? How will they flow in and out? Who will be responsible to provide what information? And who will be the recipient of whatever information or data the system will be sending out? And then from there, it leads us to the flow diagrams, where we look at the different activities and processes and sequences that are involved in achieving or completing a particular task. And finally, it closes down with a class diagram to look at what are the different attributes of different classes in the terms of group of entities, information that will be stored on the system. How are they basically related? A good example of a class diagram is the entity relationship diagram, the ERD. So helping us to understand how are the different entities in the sense that you have customer, right, who's an entity. We have products that we are selling. Let me give a good example. So we have Jumia, right? Jumia is an e-commerce website where people go to buy products, right, from different merchants. So entities on Jumia, if I'm to draw the entity relationship diagram or the class diagram of Jumia, I know that I have an entity called customer. I have another entity called merchants. I have another entity called products, right? I have an entity called payment gateway. I have another entity called my CART, CART, right? I have another entity that could be called categories, product categories, right? Now, how are these entities related to each other? How is customer related to the merchants? How is merchants related to the product? How is merchant and customer related to the payment gateway? All of these things are what we capture using the entity relationship diagram, which is a class diagram. So we'll be looking basically on the three most commonly used modeling techniques or tools today in business analysis, because the entity relationship diagram has been relegated to the job of either a solution architect or the software engineer for them to design, because it has to do a lot more with database design, right? Database schema. So use case modeling. Use case modeling, or popularly called use case diagram or UML use case, helps us to capture use cases and their relationship among actors and the system. Is a sort of high-level overview of the relationship between actors, use cases, and also the system. Just as we have use case specification that helps us to understand what the title is, right? The title could be create accounts. Then who is the actor or the interface? Then what's the description of that use case? And then what is the basic flow? The use case diagram or the UML use case basically helps us to understand the interaction, the visual interaction between the actor and the use case, the actor and the functions or the features within that system. And the use case diagram comprises four core components, which are one, the use cases, which you can also call the functionality or the features of the solution, the actor, which when we talk about actor, you can either talk about the end user, the customer, the regulatory body, another system interfacing with our system can also be termed an actor. Even the system admin can also be termed an actor. And then we have the third component of use case diagram, which is relationships. Relationships helps to pass information on the nature of interaction between the use case and the actor, or the actor and another actor, or between different use cases. And then finally, we have the system boundaries. System boundary helps to represent the perimeter, the area under the control or purview of the system. So let's start with talking about the use cases. What are the what is a use case, right, in our use case diagram, and how do we draw them? How do we know that this is a use case? How do we model them? So a use case describes a sequence of actions that provide a measurable value to the actor. The essence of rebuilding whatever thing we are building is to ensure that we deliver value to the actor, to the customer or to our end users. But in use case diagram, we call them our actor. So we want to build a financial solution. What value do you want to deliver to them? So our use cases will help us to ensure that all of the things we've specified, all of the actions in our use cases are things that will help to deliver value, provide measurable value to an actor. So a use case is drawn as an horizontal ellipse, which is this thing you see here. They are horizontal ellipse. Use case names will need to begin with a strong verb. If you see here, we have open, deposits, withdraw, close. These are all verbs. So whenever you are drawing a use case, your use case must start with a strong verb. Whenever you're drawing them and you want to name them, rather, whenever you're naming your use cases, they must start with a strong verb. Open, deposit. Instead of you to say account opening, fund deposit, fund withdrawal, account closure. No, you have to start with a verb and then end with a noun. So also name your use case using domain terminology. What I mean by this is that if you look at these use cases here, open accounts, deposit funds, withdraw funds, close accounts, you don't need anybody to make you understand that these use cases are this use case is referring to a financial solution. are not an educational or a medical or health related solution. They're basically a financial solution because you can see domain specific terminology such as account, funds, withdraw, deposits to help you provide that understanding. Also, when drawing your use cases, it's best practice for you to place your primary use cases in the top of the diagram. In the sense that it helps us to understand what are the first things that customers will do on this, that customers will do that will start delivering them immediate value. Sometimes when you say open accounts, when drawing this use case, assuming we now take close account and put it at the very first place where we have open accounts, and then take open accounts and put it at the last, take withdraw fund and deposit fund and interchange them. Yeah, it's still the same use case, right? But it does not connote best practices. It does not convey the message appropriately to our audience. So we need to ensure that we place our primary use cases at the top and also imply timing consideration when acting our use cases, in the sense that we ask ourselves, after this action, what action should happen next? And we try to stacking means placing them orderly according to what happens next and what happens next. Yes, if you don't place them orderly, that does not mean that you did not draw a use case appropriately. But I'm just trying to tell you that in terms of best practices, we need to ensure we imply timing considerations when stacking our use cases. And now for the actors, an actor basically is a person, an organization, or an external system that plays a role in one or more interactions with your system. Actors are drawn outside to the use case boundary. So you can have, this is our use case boundary, this rectangle, our use case boundary. So you can have your actors drawn inside your use case boundary. They need to be drawn outside of your use case boundary. The only thing that is drawn inside of the boundary is the use cases. They are the only thing that we draw inside of our boundary. We need to ensure we name our actors with singular business relevance now. If you are modeling an educational system or solution, then you will not have the name of this person will change from customer to students. The name of customer support here will change from customer support to probably lecturer. The name of this tax authority will change from tax authority to probably university authority, or to NUC, Nigerian University Commission, whatever regulatory body we have there. So you need to ensure that your your actors have singular business relevance nouns, right? And then you need to associate each of your actor with one or more use case. You can't have an actor that has no interaction with a use case, right? Every actor must have at least one interaction with a use case. That is to show that that actor has a particular value they are going to get from the use of our solutions. We also need to associate our actor. We need to have it in mind that our actors represent roles and not position. So you won't say first customer, second customer, third customer. No, you just have customer as an actor for our design, for our diagram. So they don't represent positions. You can't say senior customer support, junior customer support, or thereabout. We just have one customer support. And then we have when you are trying to draw an actor that indicates or that represents a system, an external system, you need to ensure you use your greater than and your less than sign to represent or to indicate system actors. You also need to know that actors can interact with one another in different formats. And then the next component we'll be looking at are relationships. Relationships. There are several types of relationships that may appear on a use case model. These relationships are arrows, right? They are basically arrows that show, they are arrows that help to show interaction between the actor and the actor. The actor and another actor, or the actor and the use case, or the use case with another use case. So there's an association between an actor and the use case. There's an association between two use cases. There is a generalization between two actors, and there's a generalization between two use cases. What do I mean? So you have an actor and also another actor. This is a generalization to show that the relationship between this actor and this actor is a generalization relationship. What does generalization relationship means? Generalization relationship basically means that the actor below, this international student, can do everything this primary or parent actor can do. But in addition, there are other specific things that it can do that the primary or parent actor cannot do. That basically is what generalization relationship tells us. It tells us that the actor below, which is called the inheriting actor or the child actor, can do everything the parent actor, which is the students, can do, and even do more, which is enroll international students. And then association relationship basically talks about how an actor relates with a particular use case. I will explain all of that over here now. So we need to ensure that whenever we are drawing our arrows, any arrows that has to do with an actor and an actor should have an we should have an arrowhead. But whenever we are drawing actor and use cases, there should be no arrowhead. We just draw the line. There should be no arrowhead. Also, we need to avoid more than two levels of use case associations. Whenever we are showing an interaction or relationship between use cases, the maximum relationship or interaction that the use case can have with another use case is 2. So you can have a parent use case and you have 2 inheriting use cases. A good example is this. So we have a parent use case called enroll students, right? And we have 2 inheriting use cases of extend and include. Then another rule of thumb is that we need to place an included use case to the right of the invoking use case. So this is an include. Oh, where's my mouse? So this is an include use case, and we need to. This is an include use case rather. So we need to place it to the right of the inheriting use case, which is the enroll students. So let me explain what include and extend talks about. So whenever you are creating an account, right, on any website, after creating an account, they will tell you that they've sent an email. They sent a mail to your email address and you need to go and verify, right? You need to verify or confirm your email address before your account creation can be complete or before you can be allowed to access the system and then log in, right? It shows that if you don't complete that verify account or verify email, it means that your account registration, right, or your account creation will not be complete. So verify email can be seen as an included use case for create accounts, because if you don't verify your email, you can't create your account creation can be complete. So that's how that is how include use cases work. For extend use cases are use cases or actions. See use cases as actions or functionalities or features, right? See them as actions or use cases that come up after you must have performed a parent use case, but they are not compulsory. If you ignore them, you can still complete the parent use case. A good example is this. If you are trying to purchase something on Jumia, right? As I said, you're trying to purchase something on Jumia. After you must have made your payment and all of that, you might see a pop-up that says rate your experience or provide feedback or review. If you choose not to review, that doesn't stop your transaction from going, from being successful, right? So it shows you that actions or features or functionalities such as review or rates or provide feedback, right, are extended use case. So also if you are filling a form, right, let's say you are filling NHF form, National Housing form, or you're filling a loan request form, and then you get to the point they ask you to choose if you are married or single, right? If you choose that you are single, and if you choose that you are single, that does not stop you. Sorry, okay, let me give a better example. So they say you come to the extent whereby they say you should choose whether you're married or single. And if you're married, you have to put in the information of your spouse, right? So you can basically ignore that particular segment and basically indicate that you are single. And if you are single, that does not mean that you can't complete your loan request form, because the aspect of the form that you have to put the details of your spouse if you are married is not compulsory, right? Those kind of actions or scenarios are what we call extended use cases. So you need to ensure that your include use cases move to the right of the invoking use case or the parent use case, while your extending use cases move below the parent use cases. You also need to ensure that you place an inheriting use case below the base of a use case and place inheriting actor below the parent actor, just as I explained here. So we have an inheriting actor placed below the parent or primary actor. That takes us to the next component of use cases, which is the boundary. Sorry, I forgot to change the title to boundary. So the boundary is basically a rectangle around the use case, and it's like a box. And as the name suggests, it indicates the scope of your system. Every use case that is within that rectangle passes a message that these are the features or actions or functionalities that will be executed or implemented or carried out by that system. So the use cases inside the rectangle represent the functionality that you intend to implement. So before we go to data flow diagram, I just want to open a use case diagram. It's just like someone sent a message across. Okay, Rachel has joined the call. Fantastic. Let's comma. Rachel, can you see my screen now? Hello, Rachel. Can you see my screen? I can't hear you, Rachel, if you're talking. I don't see my screen.
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So I want to open a use case diagram to, oops, where is this? I want to open a use case diagram so that I can show you what the use case diagram is. Okay. You can see my screen, right? Hello, are you there?
Yes, yes, I can still see it.
Okay. How about you, Fatima?
I can see it.
Okay, great. Hope I have a use case diagram here. Okay. So here is my use case diagram. So this is use case diagram example for a loan origination solution. For a loan origination solution, it's basically a simple solution that would enable borrowers to originate a loan, create an account, make a loan request and submit loan request, and also track their loan request status or their loan status on a dashboard. I also have a system admin that goes in to manage the user, to also manage the loans, and as well configure the system. So the basic actors we have are individual borrower and MSME borrower, and then we have the system admin. What are the actions for the individual borrower, he or she will basically create an account. And when they create an account, they need to verify email for that account creation to be completed. So that is where we have an include use case. It's confirmed you can see it very well. Hope it's not tiny. Okay, is it clear enough?
Yeah, it's clear enough for me.
Okay, so we have our individual borrower who can create an account, who can log in, who can fill a loan request form, who can submit a loan request. And when submitting a loan request, you must confirm your submission before it is successful. Who can track a loan? Then move this guy a bit here. So there'll be, fantastic. Who can track a loan? This guy here. Who can track their loan status? Who can also log out? But what the individual borrower cannot do is to provide business information. And that is why we have that specifically for the MSME borrower to provide business information, right? So the relationship between the individual borrower and the MSME borrower is a generalization relationship in the sense that the MSME borrower, that's a small business owner borrower, can do everything the individual borrower can do. Individual borrower like you and I that might want to collect a loan for house rent, or collect a loan to buy a car, or collect a loan to buy a land or buy a house, or collect a loan to pay school fees and all of that, right? And then see MSME borrower as someone that has a shop or has a business that needs a loan to inject into capital expenditure, or need a loan to pay salaries, or need a loan to purchase new equipment for his business, right? So in that instance, that person can do everything the individual borrower can do, except from with additional information of providing their business information, things such as probably their business name, their business registration number, their TIN to show their tax paying businesses, and also probably their bank statements, and also their guarantor or thereabouts. Then we have the system admin who also logs into the system. The system admin also configures the system, manage users, and also manage loans. So this is an example of a use case diagram. Let me just put it here, use case. The next time I won't forget because I was looking for it. So this is an example of a use case diagram, a typical example of it. So I don't know if you have any question for use case diagram before we move over to what do you call it? Data models. Any question? Is there any question? The class seems quiet. Is it I not convey the message very well? So if I tell you to draw it, you're gonna draw it because you draw the use case. You draw the model for the mobile money.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll be required to draw the use case model for the mobile money. So if you don't have any questions, hope you will not bombard me a lot of questions when you start drawing your own.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'll ask you questions there because this one is for a loan distance. That one is different. So ask you questions.
Okay, the question I was asking, if there's no question, is if you have any question regarding how or some of the basic rules of drawing use case models, but that's fine. So let's go over to data
Yeah, what are the
flow
basic
models.
of Johnny?
So let's go over to.
You help us to ask the question now. What are the basic rule of drawing business diagram, business case diagram?
I never mentioned business case. So
business model.
I never mentioned business model.
Uh-uh.
You're talking about use case model.
Use case model.
Please get it clear. Use case model.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yes. So what are the basic guidelines or the basic rules?
When did you join? Because I just walked through them. When drawing
No,
use case
this
model,
diagram, gone. What are the basic that has to be in it? Because it's not like all the account that you have to. It's not all going to be for loan request now. Like
I
you said.
basically okay. Look at I said to you when I started that a use case diagram has 4 main components: use cases, actors,
Oh,
relationships, and
I
system
wasn't
boundaries.
here then.
Okay, good. There are different tools we can use to draw use case diagram. We can use diagrams.net. We can use Microsoft Visio, which I just showed you now. You can use Lucid Chart. You can use several tools to draw your use case model, right? Drawing it is easy, very easy, straightforward, right? Just last you saw in the example I gave you people. Provided that you are able to specify your requirements, you know what you are drawing. Drawing it is just straightforward. Okay.
Okay.
Now let's go over to data flow models. For data flow models, data flow model is a highly complex model, right? And why do I say so? Unlike use case model, we have different level of detail or level of abstraction for a data flow model. We have the level 0, we have the level 1, we have level 2, we can even have up to level 3, right? And as the level goes, the more complex and more detailed the modeling becomes. But for the benefit of the class today, we'll be looking at just level 0. And level 0 data flow diagrams are called context diagrams or context model. So context diagrams show the system under consideration as a single high-level process, and then also shows the relationship that the system has with other external entities. External entities could be a system. External entities can also be an organizational group. External entity could be a user or an actor. And external entities could also be a data storage system. So another name for context diagram is level 0 data flow diagram. Data flow diagrams generally are graphical representation of the movement of data through an information system. DFDs, the data flow diagrams, are one of the 3 essential components of SSADM, which is Structured System Analysis and Design Methodology. The DFD contains 4 components. 1, the process, which is represented by the cycle, the external entities, which is the rectangle, the data stores, and the data flows. Data stores are storages or databases represented by parallel lines or 2 horizontal shapes. Or we have the data flows, which are like the arrows that show the flow of data to and from an entity to another to the system. Some of the benefits of context diagram is that it's you can basically understand the context diagram without having a deep technical understanding of IT. If you don't have a deep technical knowledge, you should be able to understand context diagram. Context diagram is easy to draw, such as same with use case diagram. In short, it's a lot more easier than the use case diagram, if I might say. It is easy to expand. When you draw a context diagram, it's a high level diagram, very, very high level, right? It's one of the highest diagrams that are high level. It's a high level diagram. So it gives you room for expansion, rooms to break down different components into different units. You can consider context diagram as an helicopter view of the solution. Right? When you're on top of an helicopter or aeroplane, you can see how Lagos connects with Ogun State, or probably how the mainland and the island connects with each other, right? But when you are somewhere in Agege, you won't be able to see how the mainland and the island connects with each other. So you can consider that view, that helicopter view, to be a context diagram, and then that view of when you are down probably in Agege to view the connection between Maryland and Island to be the lower levels of abstractions of context diagram. When we are drawing context diagram, what should be the steps we should follow? One will be for us to identify the data flows by listing the major documents and information that is associated with the system. So we need to identify what are the information that will be transferred, or what are the data flows. This could include documents, forms, reference material, structured and unstructured information. When I say structured and unstructured, I mean things such as email, telephone conversation, information from external systems. So we write down all the data or all the information that will be supplied to the system and that the system will be supplying out. So let's say a good example, WhatsApp. What sort of information, or let me see use our Jumia app, right? Let me see use Jumia. So what sort of information will Jumia be supplying to customers? Jumia will be supplying information such as product information, right? You want to buy a product, a sneakers, a dress, an appliance, mobile phone, anything. Jumia will need to supply you information about that product. So product information is an example that Jumia will be supplying to customers. What information will customers be supplying to Jumia? Customers will be supplying to Jumia information such as their financial information for transaction. Customers will be supplying Jumia their personal information such as their name, email address, phone number in order to create an account. So we can say registration information or personal information. We can also say financial information. That is what customers will be supplying to Jumia. So in your context diagram, you're basically drawing Jumia as a system and then the customer as an entity, and you draw an arrow leading from Jumia, an arrow that goes from Jumia to the customer, and then you indicate the kind of information that Jumia will be supplying the customer, and then an arrow from the customer to Jumia to show what sort of information will the customer be supplying to Jumia. So also you ensure you draw that for all the entities that will be that Jumia will be interacting with, all the external entities that Jumia as a solution or as an app or a product will be interacting with. And then you need to identify the external entities by identifying sources and recipients of data flows, and then you draw and label a process box to represent your entire system, and you draw and label external entities around the outside of the process box, and you begin to link the data flows and the information that will be shared. This is a good example of a context diagram, whereby I don't know, how many of you know of Medium? How many of us know of Medium? Medium, the websites where you go to read content. Fatima, do you know of Medium? How about you, Rachel?
No.
No.
Okay. So Medium is a website where you go to get content information. People do subscribe to Medium to get rich content about work, about any areas of life. We have Medium, we have Quora. Quora basically is a question and answer platform where you can go ask questions and people provide answers to those questions. Right? So let's take Medium for an example, which is an online community where you have people writing content on Medium, and we have community users like you and I who go on Medium to read this content, to make use of this information and tools that the content writers have written on Medium. And then we need to subscribe on Medium. To subscribe, you can either use our credit card, right? And to use our credit card, we need a payment gateway. So you can consider the payment gateway as the accountant. And then people also go on Medium to advertise their products and services. So you can consider them to be advertisers. So Medium is the online community, which is this center box. Now we have the external entities, the advertisers, the accountants, the staff writers, and the community users. What information does community users give to Medium? Registration information. Because when you want to register on Medium, you need to provide your information, personal information, first name, last name, email address, date of birth, and all of that, registration information. And what information does Medium give to community users? That is readers like you and I. It gives them information, that is content, and also tools that they can use to become better or help themselves. Then we have the staff writers, or you can call them content writers. What information do they provide to Medium or the online community? They provide information such as content that they write. They write content on Medium, so they provide that information to Medium, and Medium gives them compensation such as payments, right? So for every content they provide, when people read those contents, when people subscribe to those contents, Medium pays them for that. Then we have the payment gateway or the accountants. Medium gives them information about the financial data of the community users and the financial data of the staff writers, because it's through the payment gateway that Medium is going to pay the staff writers, and it's also through the payment gateway that community users are going to subscribe on Medium. So we have financial data that Medium will be supplying the payment gateway, and the payment gateway will be supplying transaction information or financial report to Medium. And then for advertisers, they'll basically be paying for advertisement slots on Medium, while Medium will provide them with advertisement slots for them to use to advertise their products and services. So let's take a look at a very good example of a context diagram that I drew. This is for a product called My View. So this is a context diagram. So My View basically have two major entities, the reviewer and the company, right? What sort of information will My View be sending to the companies? The informations are reviews, reports, payment information. And what information will company be sending to My View? Registration information, company information, profile, advertisement, bank details. For reviewer as well, what sort of information will they be sending to My View? Information such as registration, review, and company rating, and all of that. Then what sort of information will My View be sending to the reviewer? Information about reviews, about advertisements, and also about details of the company. This is a context diagram. Now, let me show you a level 1 data flow diagram that's of this context diagram. So this is the level 1 data flow diagram of this context diagram. You see how complex it has become, right? Because I'm trying to break down the entire processes. So now we have the reviewer, right, who's an entity. And for the reviewer, they need to register. Remember, I said they send registration information. When they register, that helps them to perform the process of creating an account. And when they create an account, they have to send information of login to enable them to access the account. When they're able to access their account, then they need to create their profile, right? When they create their profile, which is their profile details, it now stores on the categories, profile categories data storage. So this is a data storage. Oh, let me move this back. Oh, did I delete this? So this is a data storage. So this is a level 1 context diagram. And so also we can then go further to draw level 2, which becomes a lot more detailed. But in level 0 context diagram, this basically is what we have, as simple and as high level as it is. So we'll go over to the last section of the class today, which is process flow diagrams or process flow models, right? So we've looked at use case diagrams. We've also looked at data flow models, that is context diagram. So right now we'll be looking at process flow models or process flow diagrams, right? So let's start. So for process modeling or process flow diagram is basically a graphical representation of a company's details or a company's business process or workflow. So every business, even up trust, every business, every organization, every enterprise has what we call a workflow. A workflow in the sense that how work flows from one end to the other, right? How things are basically done. right? So every business has a workflow. So what is the workflow? How do we now capture this workflow on a graphical representation or a graphical way? That's where we make use of our process flow diagram or our process modeling, right? It helps us to show the relationship between major users and components of a system or of a business. Some of the basic rules when we are drawing process modeling is that we need to let our data to flow from left to right. We need to place return lines under the flow of the diagram. We need to ensure that each process should have a verb and a noun, and every arrow must have a head to indicate the direction of the flow. I'll show you an example of a process flow, so don't be so scared, right? Then we have arrows which we should ensure that they do not cross each other. Some of the benefits of process flow diagram or modeling is that it helps us to identify a process. It helps to bring transparency. It helps to bring agility and flexibility in the sense that helping us to create more room for analysis. It also helps to ensure that we can make our processes standard and best practices. Process steps to drawing a process model is first the discovery stage, where we discover what is the current process. So if we want to do process improvement or process analysis of Uptrust business or of Jumia or Bank PHB or HSBC or BBVA Bank or Canadian Bank or Ikeja Electric, we start with discovering the process. What is the current process that exists? It could be maybe their service delivery process. We want to improve the service delivery process. I want to improve the HR hiring process, that's the recruitment process of Ikeja Electric or of Uptrust or whatever business. We need to understand what is the current way that process is done. What is the current way they do things? So process discovery. What are the current things, way things are done, right? After process discovery, we now create that current process, that is the existing process. Upon creating the existing process, then we now go into the third phase that is called identifying areas of improvement. So we'll be able to discover or identify the current process, be able to draw the current process. Now I want to identify what areas in this current process are we going to improve. After identifying improvement, draw a new that we are going to be improving. That is a new and improved process. And that will be the end of our process modeling. There are different tools out there that we use in process modeling. We have the flowchart diagram, which is the most common tool that is used in modeling processes, the flowchart model. And then we have the BPMN, which is also another common tool that is used, although it is very, very technical. Process flow chart is not as technical as business BPMN. BPMN stands for Business Process Modeling and Notation, right? BPMN is very technical, very, very highly technical. If I'm to do a course for you, business process modeling, it might take maybe 2 or 3 sessions or probably a full day class for you to understand what BPMN is all about, because it's highly, when I say highly, I mean highly, highly technical. It's a technical tool that professional business analysts use in modeling complex business processes. So imagine if Promasidor or UAC Food or Unilever wants us to model their entire operations from manufacturing to sales to customer service and all of that. We can't use a flowchart diagram to do that, but basically we can use a BPMN to do that. A BPMN will give us the opportunity to model complex solutions or complex businesses. Then we have the SIPOC diagram. SIPOC diagram stands for supplier input, output, and also the customer, right? It's used basically in Lean and Six Sigma for process improvement. And then we have the IPO model, which is input, process, output, right? Which helps us to look at what are the input ends to this process, what are the processes and what should be the outputs that we should be expecting. And then the last of them is the value stream mapping. Value stream mapping is a business process modeling tool that we basically use to analyze the existing and future state of a process. But we are much more concerned on what value would each process be given to either the customer or to the business. So that's why it's called a value stream mapping, VSM. So these are like the most common business process, process modeling tools that we have today in the market, or that we use today as business analysts. As I said, the most common is flowchart diagram. That is what, whenever you say, okay, go and draw a process diagram or go and draw a process model of this, the first thing that is always good for you to start with is your process, is your flowchart diagram, right? And your flowchart, you can have your cross-functional flowchart or your basic flowchart. And then we have our BPMN, right, which we use in modeling. If it's a complex situation or business, we can use our BPMN to look at that. So for our process flowchart diagram, it has several shapes. We have the start and end shape that looks like this. The start and end shape, which is used to represent the start and the end of a process. We have the process shape, which is basically a rectangle, which is used to represent an activity or a process. We have the decision shape, which is used to represent gateways or decision points at every point in time, right? Then we have the sub-process, which is used to represent a group of processes that fit into another process. Then we have the input-output shape, which is basically this parallelogram to represent when we are imputing. For instance, whenever you want to create an account on a platform, and I tell you, sign up using Google, or sign up using LinkedIn, or you sign up using Facebook, right? In those situations, when you want to represent that activity of sign up using Google, or sign up using Facebook, or sign up using what else did I mention? Google, Facebook, and LinkedIn, right? If you want to represent that in your process, you basically use your input or output. You're basically saying that we are going to be fetching data into the system, right? So there's an input of data from an external source. So we use our input shape to represent that. Then we have the document. Document, basically, if you are going to be printing out a document like a receipt, right, like a teller, then we can use our document shape to represent that. Then we have our database. If you want to store data in a database and want to represent that in our process, maybe there's a point in our process that we need to store a data before we can continue, or you want to show the technical team that data needs to be stored at this point in time, then we use that. We use our database shape. Then we have external storage. So assuming you want to show that this information will not be stored on our database, but to be stored on another data storage. For instance, if we want to say that customer transaction information will not be stored on the Jumia solution, but want it to be stored on probably Finacle, or want it to be stored on Amazon Web Services data storage, then we can use that external data storage shape to represent that. And then we have our on-page reference and our off-page reference. On-page reference used to reference a particular process that is within the same page of our diagram, and off-page is used to represent a particular process that is in another page that is not in our diagram. Then we have the horizontal swim lane and also the vertical swim lane. Then we have the horizontal and vertical separators for our swim lane. This is a sample process flow diagram, a flow chart, right? Most importantly, a cross-functional flow chart. So we have the customer, we have the sales department, we have the warehouse, and we have the accounting department. We have the start, and we have the EOP end, or you can call it end of process, EOP. So we have the start and we have the end. And this is how the process flows, right? The arrow directs you on what happens next from where. So when it starts, it goes to this place. When this process is complete, it comes here. When here is complete, we print a document. So you see here other acknowledgements or preforma. That is a document that we are going to be printing. Once we do that, the next thing to do is to know if you have received our L and C. If you have received it, we will update our L and C in our sales order, right? If you have not received it, then sales order is blocked for delivery. That means we will not deliver that order. So imagine if you have received it, we now check if the credit limit is exceeded. If it's exceeded, then we'll block that order. But if it's not exceeded, we go ahead to create delivery. So delivery is created. After delivery is created, we have our delivery notes. We have our transfer order, which is created. Then our price list is here as a document we can print. Then we have our packing list, which is a document we can print, and we have our billing created, and we have our invoice that we can print, and that is sent to the accounting, and thereafter the process ends. So this is like an example of a process flow chart of an agent sales. Let me also show you an example of a process flow chart I drew on what do you call it? Microsoft Visio. So I think also for the okay, this is for Ademola Coffee. Let me see, there's another one I drew that is not Ademola Coffee. Okay, which is this one? Oh, this is still Ademola Coffee app. Oh, interesting. Okay, so I remember when I drew this, a past student got in touch with me, and he has an interview, and in that interview, they told him to draw a process flow chart that he's going to make a presentation of that in the interview. They told him to draw the process flow of anything, and he's going to make an interview. So he reached out to me, and I drew this and I explained to him, and I sent to him to add one or two things. So should I also participated in the drawing so that to help him in terms of presentation. Unfortunately for him, he made the presentation. They loved the presentation, but they said that he has only 1 year of experience, and they needed someone with 6 years of experience, 6 or 5 years of experience. So notwithstanding, the recruiter, because that is in UK, the recruiter told him that he's going to keep his CV. If another offer comes out from another client, that he will just forward him straight. No need for him to go through the pre-interview, because they're really impressed with what he did at first. So when he told me about that, his name is Ademola, so I had to quickly say, okay, let me just draw something. Instead of drawing something so complex, let me draw something as easy as possible that everyone himself could relate to, and also the recruiter, when talking to the recruiter through the work, can also relate to it, because white people love coffee a lot. So coffee was something that I thought, okay, let's draw the process of a coffee shop, right? So I drew the Aziz, that is the manual process of the coffee shop, which is the Ademola coffee store. So this is the manual coffee order process. So here I have the coffee store, which has 2 different units of the cashier and the coffee maker, and then I have the customer. The process starts with the customer, where the customer walks into the store, checks the menu. After the customer have checked the menu, the customer then makes an order, right? When the customer makes an order, the coffee maker will check if that ingredient to make the coffee is available. If the ingredient, then there will be a decision or a gateway to decide whether ingredient is available or not. If ingredient is not available, which is no, then the coffee maker will inform the customer, and the customer will check the menu again to see if he can make another order, right? But if the ingredient is available, then the coffee maker will then provide time that the coffee will be ready. After providing time that the coffee will be ready, the customer will have to decide, maybe can I wait or can I not wait? If I can wait, the process continues. If he or she cannot wait, then the customer walks out of the store and the process ends. But if the customer can wait, right? If the customer can wait, which is yes, willing to wait, if yes, the coffee maker will make the coffee and then notify the customer that the coffee is ready. When you notify the customer will collect the coffee, the customer will approach the cashier, and the customer will choose a payment method he or she want to use. Does he want to use cash or card? If it is cash, he will pay with cash. If it is card, he will pay with his card by providing his card to the cashier. The cashier will vend the card with probably a POS. If the vending is successful, the cashier will issue a receipt. But if the vending is not successful, the cashier will notify the customer, and the customer can either use another alternative or alternate payment method. And when the customer is issued a receipt, the customer collects the receipt, and then the process ends. That was the manual process I modeled for him. And then in the automated process, because they told you to do for both manual and automated. For the automated process, I have we have the store, we have the coffee maker. So instead of a cashier, we have a coffee order app that the customer will be using to order for the coffee rather than having to walk into the coffee store to make the order. So the process also starts with the customer. And in this situation, the customer will open the app to view available coffee on the app. After that, the customer will order for a coffee on the app, and then the app will look if this person is a new user or an existing user. If the person is a new user, the customer will need to create an account. If the person is an existing user, or can say existing customer, the coffee app will require that the customer log in, then the customer will log in. After the customer logs in or creates accounts, the customer will make payments online. A transaction, if it is successful or not, will be notified to the customer. The customer will download receipts, the order receipt. Now, the app will now notify the coffee maker of the customer order. Then the coffee maker will make the coffee. After making the coffee maker will then confirm that the coffee is ready. The app will notify the customer, and the customer will basically walk in and pick up the coffee. So this will eliminate the process of having to go to the coffee store and queuing before it gets to your turn before you can make an order. If you know that you will be going to the work and you want to pick up coffee along the way, you can basically make the coffee order 10 minutes before leaving your house. And in 10 minutes time, when you are reaching that coffee store, your coffee is ready and you're just picking up your coffee and going. All you have to do is just to show your receipt, show the coffee maker your receipt, pick up your coffee and go. That helps you to save time. That helps to eliminate waiting time in the coffee store and all of that. So that's just an example of a process flow chart. So how do you basically draw this on Microsoft Visio? Microsoft Visio, as I said, is a powerful tool that we can use to model anything. Any diagram you want to draw in IT, in engineering, they are available for you on Microsoft Visio. So if I want to draw a use case diagram, all I have to come here is to click on more shapes when I open my Microsoft Visio. Then I go to software and databases, and I go down to software, and I'll see my UML use case. My UML use case. And once I click on it, once I click on my UML use cases, then my actors and whatever comes up. So let me open a new page. So I have my actors. I have my system boundary, which is this. I can draw it. I have my use cases. I drag and drop. I have my actors. I basically drag and drop. All these are drag and drop. Yeah, so you're not going to be drawing the actor yourself. You just drag and drop. I have my association relationship, which shows relationship between an actor and a use case. I have my association relationship, which shows relationship between an actor and a use case. I have another use case. Let's say I get another use case. I have my include relationships. Let me extend this a bit. I have my include use case, which should be to the right of my inheriting or parent use case. And here's my include relationship that I'll just bring and draw it. All right, still well. Then I have my include, I have my extend use cases, which should be drawn below it, and I can take my extend and if you watch for your extend arrow has to go to the parent. Your extend goes from inheriting to parent, but include goes from parents to inheriting, right? So that basically is just how we draw use case diagram. You name this system. Here we have names. So I can name this party rich spa. Party rich spa. That's Fatima and Rachel's spa. Party rich spa. So let's say Party rich spa is an app that might enable people to book spa appointments, probably buy some of their supplements or products that can enable skincare and all of that. So just imagine. So we have this customer here who create accounts. This could be verify email. This could be something like let's say extend, could be something that has to do with login, probably. Not login. It could be activate location. So you can choose to activate location, or you don't want to activate location. So you can have as much use cases as you want to have. Next one could be login. That was another thing they can do. You can still duplicate Control D to duplicate a particular use case and rename it. You can have book appointments. If you watch, I'm using verb. Remember, I said you start your use case with a verb and end with a noun now, right? Book appointments. We have buy products, purchase or buy products. You can use any one, purchase products. Right, so you can say purchase skincare. Is skincare one word or two words? Purchase skincare products. So you can basically have that in your, let me make this a bit small. You have your purchase skincare products, and just like that, begin to draw your use case, provided you know what the actions or functions that you'll be doing on that app. Same thing with your use context diagram. You want to draw context diagram. All you have to do is just go to more shapes, go to software and database, go to software and click on data flow diagram shapes, and then you have your context diagram to draw. These are your context diagram shapes. You have entities, we have data stores, right? We have external, we have the data process, we have multiple process, all of that. All of this will be used when you're drawing your detail, that is level 1 and level 2, but to draw your context diagram, just take your, to draw your high level context diagram, take your entity, take your process. So let's say here we have customer as an entity. Customer as an entity, right? Another entity that we might have will be payments, since you want people to be buying things on their payments. An entity, another entity could be calendars. If you want them to book appointments, right? We have our calendar. So these are like the entities that you have. Then you have our system, which is party rich app, right? So this is party rich app, which is a spa app for booking appointments, buying products, and what have you. For the customers, what sort of information will they be passing across to you? We take our connector, we'll connect customer to this. We can choose to have it here like this, and you can choose to have this coming here. We can choose to have this coming here. I can choose to have this, sorry. I can choose to have this coming here. and this coming here, this coming here. Just drawing a straight simplify without stressing myself. Stuff. You can either use this arrow or use another type of arrow, which is line. You draw your line to show. So let's say if I delete this, right? And then I delete this, right? Then I take my line 2 and I take this and draw it straight to show for this. I take this and draw it straight to show for this. Right, so I have my 2 ready. I can take this, go to my line, arrows, arrowhead like this. Same for this as well. Line, arrows, arrowhead, make it this. So I have all of this ready. What information will customer be supplying to FATI-Rich app? So let me have people help me out. So what information will customer be supplying to you? Anybody?
Their name and address.
Their name and address. And what is that kind of information? Their registration or personal information, right?
Yes. Registration.
customer can, exactly. So customer can supply their name and address, right? So you put
and their
here,
email or phone number and phone number.
yeah, all of that make their personal information. I can call it registration information. So you can bring a text, click your text here and put registration. Right? So registration information. Registration information are some of the things can use that to represent what customer will be supplying. Because this is the arrow that links from what customer will be sending. What would the system be sending? There are several information. I'm just trying to make this as simple as possible for explanation purpose. What information would the system be sending to customer?
Appointment, available time slots for appointments.
Yes, time slots, right? They have time slots. We also have products info, right? Since they can purchase products.
Product info, yes. Services information.
Yeah. So this is just on a high level example of the information that the product the system will be supplying to customer. Also, payments system will give the payment gateway financial information, customer financial information, right? And the payment gateway will give transaction report or transaction information, right? For calendar, calendar will give customer slots, right? Or let's say appointments. Calendar will give calendar the app appointment information. Why the app will be sending to calendar dates, or should I say customer information, sort of. So that basically is just how our what do you call it? Our context diagram, as simple as it is, we can draw them. And all of this is provided you understand the actions, and these actions are the requirements or the features or functionalities of the system. So also if you want to draw our flow charts,
so before you go further, please, before you go further, I know that what this shapes you're getting is from Microsoft Word, right?
Visio, not Word, Visio.
Office, oh, Visio, okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, you can also get it from diagrams.net. You can get it from Lucid Charts.
From where?
Have Microsoft Lucid Charts or from diagrams.net. So let's say I want to get from diagrams.net. So I'll open diagrams.net. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So this is diagrams.net, right? It's also a tool like Microsoft Visio, but this one is a web-based modeling tool. Another one is Lucid Charts. Lucid Charts. So Microsoft Visio, you need to download it into your system before you can use it. But these ones, you can use them on the go without having to download into your system. You understand? So let me open diagrams.net. I can start, all of a sudden, start drawing. Click on Start Now. It loads. I'll just basically need to do some authentication and authorization. Remember last week we did functional requirements. We talked about authentication and authorization. So you're going to see it here. It's if I've not authorized, so now it wants to authenticate. It says, where should I save this diagram to? Do I want to save it on my drive, on my device, on GitLab, on Dropbox? So let's say I want to save it on my device. It's going to authenticate and ask me to authorize. So I can create a new diagram. Might be a blank diagram. It could be a swim lane, a relationship diagram, a flow chart. You understand? A cross-functional flow chart or whatever thing. But let me just create a blank diagram. I can choose a blank diagram and I choose create. Now, it will ask me to authorize the location I want to create it. We've done the authentication to ask me, where do you want me to authenticate with? Is it with your drive or your personal device storage or Dropbox? We've passed authentication. Now it asks me to authorize by creating a folder where I say sample, which is the name of the file, and I can put it in my let's put it probably in vertebra, and then I open and I save it here. I'll click on my save. Once I click on save, I have access. I can draw anything I want to draw, model anything I want to model. So if I want to draw use cases, all I have to do is just to come to the search and I type use case. And I search. It brings my use case models to me. I bring it here. The same thing I did with my Microsoft Visio, I can do them here. These I double click and I have my party rich app. Right? I have it. I have my actors. I have my use cases. I can call this create accounts. Right? And duplicate onward and say verify email. So on and on, I can draw whatever thing. I can continue my modeling on and on. I have my extend relationship and I have my include relationship. To do that, I just take my relationship and put here. Then I have my include relationship. So whatever tool you want to use, is it FLOWCHART? FLOWCHART will want you to log in or sign up before you can use it. They all have different model because FLOWCHART has pricing. So it will want you to sign up before you can use. So I have a FLOWCHART. I cannot start signing up or signing in at the moment. So you can use any of them. You want to create anything you want to create. I mean, basically create. I want to check the prices of whatever thing. You can do that with your FLOWCHART. So that brings us to the end of the class for today. Rachel has gone off. I don't know if you have any questions.
She's been off for a while.
Oh, she's been off for a while?
Yes.
Just getting to know. I don't know if you have any question. Feel free to ask and I will attend.
I'm just gonna go over them on my own. If I have any question, I'll reach out to you.
Okay, we are gradually coming to the end of the class, right? So I want us to double down on our assignments so that I can pay full attention to review our assignments for you effectively. I want you this week to go over to requirement elicitation. And there are basically two requirement elicitation approach I want you to adopt. I know it's going to be work for you, but I would like you to just try it. I'll make sure it's not too much work. First, research. Use research to get requirements for a mobile money. So what you're going to be doing is to start searching for things like, what are the features of a mobile money solution? Search for it on the web. What will a mobile money solution do? How does M-Pesa is the Kenyan mobile money program. How does it work? So you know the basic functionalities and how it works, right? And then I want you to choose one out of either to interview 3 people or do a survey. Interview 3 people in the sense that you interview somebody who you know is in the fintech space that understands mobile money to pick their brains on what mobile money is in order for you to get requirements. Questions to be asking is, what is mobile money? What is the process of mobile money? What sort of information, right? If you check the class on requirement elicitation, I have some sample elicitation questions. You can draft those questions. You can share with me. I can review the questions with you and just share with me on WhatsApp, on Teams. I could make changes, add some for you, if you want to interview. Or you can use survey. You can prepare a survey, right? Or a form, a questionnaire form using Google Forms or Microsoft Forms. Since you have a Microsoft account with Ultros, you can use Microsoft Forms. Create a form or a questionnaire and share with people. We can share the form between tomorrow, can create the form tomorrow and give people Sunday to Wednesday to respond. Post it on your WhatsApp status, ask friends and families to provide input to that form. Ask them simple questions such as, have they used the mobile money before, right? How would they want, you can explain to them what mobile money is all about and ask them what are some of the things they want to see in a mobile money, right? People in the rural area, you can share a form to help get their input on how I know you might have brothers, sisters, cousins, relatives that are in rural areas here in Nigeria. You can just ask them, maybe it might even be a call through the phone on WhatsApp, ask them some questions to get information on some way mobile money can help them. You can just explain to them what mobile money is from your understanding and ask them what are some of the things they would like to do. So also, if you have someone that does this POS agency banking stuff, a POS agent, can call him or her and ask and get feedback on how they run the business and all. Then the aspect of research, I have to just research about mobile money solutions that will help provide the information also. So from there, you can document all of those requirements and then we review together next weekend.
So you want me to either do the survey or the interview?
Yes, either the survey and interview. So you do the research plus either a survey and interview. Is that okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. And this is for requirements and elicitation on mobile money, right?
Yes, exactly. So next week you can then from your requirement elicitation, you can then come up with lists of requirements for a mobile money solution. So your research can entail you doing benchmarking. So if there's a mobile money solution you know about, you can benchmark on the features and qualities and functionalities of that solution. Do you understand? That is the research. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Do enjoy the rest of your week. And I wish
so
you.
If I have any question, I'll reach out to you.
Just let me know. Yeah, sure.
All right.